So guys, if there was anything that Nigerians earnestly prayed for, that was for Buhari's government to come to an end. And now that we are waiting for the election tribunal to decide who actually won the 2023 presidential election, Bola Tinubu has been sworn in as the president of Nigeria. But you know, many Nigerians are still wondering if at all he knows what it means to tackle the challenges of Nigeria. Many people's doubts are coming up as a result of his health status and his mental capacity. So guys, in today's video, Mr. Agbakoba, who is also a son, is here to advise Tinubu on some key areas he should focus on if at all he doesn't want Nigerians to classify him in the group Buhari has been placed. Listen to him speak.
If at all there is anything for Nigerians to cheer about Tinubu's presidency, it is their disengagement from Buhari's government, an era that set them backwards a decade or more. It is about a break from the Buhari years that are better described as years of the locust. Joining us now to discuss the huge expectations Nigerians want from the new president, Bola Tinubu, and the formation of his government is Olisa Agbakoba, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Good morning, Mr. Agbakoba, and welcome to the morning show.
Morning, Ayo. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I must say happy birthday to you as well. 70 on the 29th of May, inauguration day as well. So Happy birthday in arrears.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So starting out, I think it's quite instructive that she celebrated a landmark age on a landmark day whereby the 16th president of Nigeria was sworn in. And as I mentioned earlier on, expectations are high. Very quickly, what are your immediate expectations from the president?
Yeah, I mean, thanks very much. But there's a sort of background, President Tinubu has gone through 4 processes: aspirant, candidate of his party, president-elect, and now president. And in spite of the fact that there are constitutional challenges in the courts, I think all Nigerians must endorse him now as constitutionally approved, pending whatever happens in the election tribunal. So I think the last speaker, I liked what she said, that we all must come behind him so that he can do the task that he has set out for himself. And I remember I watched the investiture dinner, and I was very happy that he said, no one asked me for this job. I, on my own, took upon the task of being president of Nigeria. So a lot is expected of him. And a couple of things I'll say. One, national unity. The country is so divided that nothing can happen without President Tinubu making a big attempt to unite Nigerians. And I would suggest that he can call a meeting of the sub-nationalities of Nigeria. The Afenifere, the Ohaneses, because these guys, have a very strong hold on their ethnic, sub-nationalities. If that happens and it is successful, that then pushes the way forward for him to now unleash a couple of big programs. One would be insecurity. I would say all service chiefs should honorably resign, all of them, including the IG of police, because they've not done well. President Tinubu cannot carry on with these service chiefs. We need to create a new security infrastructure. Actually, the last real security infrastructure was propelled by Professor Akinyemi. I was then at the NIIA, and I took part in writing the SSS bill. Unfortunately, it has turned out to be a behemoth. But we must change the security infrastructure. We must change our military doctrine, and we now need to consider the theory of irregular warfare. The bandits, Boko Haram, they're all fighting irregular warfare. But I see our soldiers using conventional means. That will not work. So I hope the president would take that into account. Another issue would be the one concerning the economy. There's no money. The debt-to-revenue ratio is horrible. If we earn 100 naira, we're spending 100 naira to pay debt. So there's nothing he can do. So quickly, he must look for how to generate revenue. I'm sitting here in Apapa. This is a gold mine. The port here produces 20 billion naira every day. That's about 8 trillion, which is about a third of the economy. Yet this place is abandoned. I'd like to see the president propel into the National Assembly an emergency regeneration bill for Apapa. It may cost 10 to 15 billion, but it will be worth it because we get a lot of money from our papa. There are 56,000 broken projects that are uncompleted. We need to see legislation go into the National Assembly so that those broken projects can be quickly completed and bring out money for us. In the maritime economy, which has been glossed over by all presidents in Nigeria, it needs to form a central and key part of the president's agenda. I need to see the president appoint a minister for maritime affairs. Nigeria is a very huge country. Outside of oil and gas, the maritime sector is the second largest, yet there is no minister. There's a minister of aviation, which is smaller than the maritime industry, so that is something that ought to be done. Analysts have shown that the maritime sector can produce up to 7 to 8 trillion a year. So you see, we've got the first one that I've just told you, 20 billion from the ports, another 8 trillion from the maritime sector, so that's already 16 trillion. Then we need to talk about limited government. The government is simply too big. We need to talk about anti-corruption. The anti-corruption process is not working. I have challenged the constitutionality of the EFCC. The EFCC is a behemoth. It needs to be dismantled. Mr. Bola needs to go because what he's doing is not attracting people's confidence. He needs to go. He's always in battles with everybody. Now he's battling Matawale. That's no way to fight corruption. So we need to see Mr. Bola step aside honorably so that the anti-corruption process can be seen to be genuinely fought by the president without any equivocation. So all the guys who took part in the old government should honorably step down. Now, he needs to have good people. In the CIA, they refer to top people as top assassins. My number one top assassin for the Attorney General's position would be either Babatunde Ogala or BRF. Fashola has a big brain, so he can easily do that. Legal failure would mean that you need a very strong Attorney General to do strong work in development and law and order. For the SGF, because if you don't put in good people, you're not going to get results. So I would say someone like Governor Bagudu should be headed to the position of the SGF, and so on and so forth. So if you have good people around, the president, if he has good people around, then he's likely to make a success of his job. But we are very anxious. Nigeria is very anxious that the president succeeds, because if you ask Nigerians, they are more interested in development than who is actually president. So if it had been Peter Obi or Mr. Atiku, it will make no difference. So the fact that there are cases in the tribunal should not deter the president from absolutely getting his job done. There's poverty in the land, multidimensional poverty is 131 million, that's too high. So if you can get all these things done in 100 days, I'm sure people will say, yes, we've seen someone who has come to the job and is keen to deliver. So I wish him, the best.
Oh my word, I am so happy you've already laid out what should be the entire agenda for the first 100 days of this president. I remember when President Buhari was going into government, and a lot of people who are very good people, very able people, said that there's an agenda for the first 100 days of the president, and that from day one, he's going to hit the ground running. And then they waited for 100 days, and we still didn't have ministers. Now, President Bola Tinubu got into office on Monday, on your birthday. By the way, happy birthday, and 70 looks so impressively good on you, sir. Well done. May God continue to keep you well. So, looking at President Tinubu today, you will see that on Tuesday, he went into office. There were meetings that I heard. And then today, we're waiting. We will hear what will happen. And the question some people are asking is, what will be the right timeline within which we must see some amount of movement that gives the impression that we're not going to be in for another 6 months or 3 months or 2 months of waiting in the wings to see things happen? What do you think will be the appropriate timeline? When should we expect the president to come out, hit the ground running and say, there is no honeymoon period, especially with fuel scarcity now, and we haven't heard from the president with the kind of thing that will happen, that could happen with that.
The appropriate timeline is absolutely today. Today, I would think he should be making critical appointments. I've just given a couple of names. I'd like to see in place an Attorney General. I'd like to see in place a CBN governor, either Mustafa Chikobi or Yemi Cardoso. I'd like to see a Minister of Transport. I'd like to see the Transport Ministry reorganized into 4 sub-ministries of rail, road, shipping, and air, with the Secretary of Transport organizing this. I'd like to see works, cease to be a ministry and it should go into transport. So these are the couple of big things we need to see. By 6 p.m. today, the challenge for President Tinubu would be to name at least 4 or 5 critical ministers. Critical, because there's no time to waste. Critical ministers who would immediately begin to outline what the president hopes to achieve in 100 days. If I don't hear from the president today, I mean, not me personally, but if, oh, by the way, I think that Dele Alake is a very good choice for presidential spokesman, although I rather call him press secretary. There's another guy who's very good but he wasn't given opportunity to flourish. That's a jury. He was in channels. I need to see him as director of communications because he's absolutely a brilliant communicator. He needs to communicate what government is doing. So these are the things I expect to see today. Not necessarily for the president to be making big speeches. Let him go to the office and work, push out his people, talk about how he's going to cut inflation, talk about how he's going to create jobs, talk about limited government, talk about the anti-corruption program, talk about national unity, talk about the insecurity issues. These are the big things. Now, what happens when he does all this is people say, oh, by the way, there's something new here. There's something like hope. Hope is what makes people happy, even though they may be poor. So that's what we need to see.
Okay, so a couple of these names you've been banning. A lot of people have been talking about Bola Elias too, for the position of AG. I mean, what's your take on that? And before I ask my question, I'll say happy birthday to you. And I will still come celebrate with you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. We need to do it. It's a proper milestone here. Also, some of the things that have happened, and I'm happy you talked about the fact that he needs to get a team ready. Just like I said on this show, that he needs to get a team ready to be able to respond to the fallout of this fuel scarcity debacle that has happened. All right? How should he navigate his way through that? Because this is supposed to be his honeymoon period, but it's apparent that it's no longer honeymoon for him. Also, another part is about this debacle between EFCC and DSS yesterday. I am happy he took a stand over it and he told the DSS to leave, but it's a blight on the security architecture of our country you talked about. What's your take on this issue, sir?
Bola Elias, he's a great guy, he's a friend of mine, so he also qualifies. I just named a few guys that came to my head. But my point about Attorney General is the need to put in somebody who knows what he is going to do. So that's for that. On the DSS, EFCC, fight, that's precisely why I said he's just going to clean out the stable. The stable. There's a whole lot of mess. The DSS has to understand that it's under the rule of law. So we want to see the president pursue the principle of constitutionalism. But my worry more is on the EFCC side. I think Mr. Bauer's tenure has been tainted by, rightly or wrongly, I might just be expressing a view that is not popular, but rightly or wrongly, if you need to have someone fight corruption, that person must be seen to fight it. There must be no baggage. There's been too much baggage around Mr. Bauer, not personally, but the way in which EFCC carries out its functions. And I'd like to see the president review the fact of EFCC's constitutionality. Nigerians don't believe in the EFCC generally, and that will not be good for the president in his fight to rid the country of corruption.
All right, I'd like to delve deeper in terms of what you said in your opening statement with regards to bringing together Nigerians from different parts of the country. We've seen ethnic divisions along ethnic lines, polarized like almost as we haven't seen in recent times. And he did make allusions to that during his inaugural speech, that irrespective of the party you're from, he's president to everyone. If you recall, the former president, Buhari, had said that he belonged to everyone and belonged to no one, almost saying that he was going to be the president for everyone. But we saw that his tenure and administration was rife with allegations of nepotism and the likes. What should the president do? So just to expound on your statement, to begin to bring Nigerians together, to begin to promote unity in the nation.
If I were President Tinubu, I'm not going to look back. Anyone who looks in the rear view mirror while driving will have a crash. Forget President Buhari's tenure of office in 8 years. It's gone, it's done. So I will not be looking at what he did 8 years ago. I'll just be saying, what can I do? Because if you start looking back, then you carry a lot of issues and baggage. Was this rightly done or not rightly done? We all know the issues around President Buhari, but right now I think he's in Daura, so he's no longer an issue. The issue is President Tinubu and what he can do. He's the man in Aso Rock, not President Buhari. So what I would urge Nigerians is to forget the past and to say, what can President Tinubu do to make us happy? You know, Nigerians are not even really big. They don't demand much. They want a good job. They want housing. They want water. They want fuel. Little things. That's all. So, Mr. Tinubu, look forward. Don't look backwards. If you look backwards, you're going to enter some hot soup. So, all the issues that are confronting you as president, one of which is national unity, is what he needs to confront. I feel, after 43 years of being in the pro-democracy struggle, that part of Nigeria's problem is disunity. So I look at what happened in Europe in the 1800s, when they had the 30 Years' War and the 100 Years' War, and they just came together and said, why are we even fighting? And they had a very big convention in a region of Germany called Westphalia. I would recommend that process to President Tinubu. So all the European kingdoms came together and had a treaty on peace. And I mentioned the leaders of the sub-national entities in Nigeria because they're the ones who have cultural and ethnic validity. Look at someone like Edwin Clark in Rivers. He's got a big stature. Look at Arewa. Look at Ohaneze. Look at Afenifere. These are people who I feel, if Mr. Tinubu uses, can calm the situation, because that would be what would enable him to have a canvas upon which to deliver good governance. So I strongly recommend it. I also strongly recommend to anyone who will be a top advisor to Tinubu to read a book which was written by an American at the time when Mr. Roosevelt came into office. So I see a big relationship between when Roosevelt FDR came into office and introduced the New Deal, and Mr. Tinubu's tenure now. That book should be one that will be on the table of the president, looking at it every minute to say, here's how I want to go. He's got to have a plan, a clear plan, a vision, and that vision must be driven by top people who are burning with the desire to turn around Nigeria. That's how he needs to go. And if he does this, I can assure you that we'll begin to see some results in 100 days. And Nigerians will be happy for the first time in a long time.
Okay. Very quickly then, there are two things on my mind right now. The first one is a very quick, very easy question to ask you. You mentioned the different sociocultural organizations, and you did say the Ohaneze and Indigbo and the Afenifere and all of them. If he brings them together, it will be a very good thing. A lot of people are arguing that he should please just let Nnamdi Kanu go. What would be your opinion on that? That's a very quick answer. But the real issue...
Absolutely. I don't understand.
The second thing that I wanted to raise is the national conference that was had, and a lot of people have been saying that Nigeria's constitution does not represent we the people. Should he address that, and should he use this opportunity as he's settling in to do that?
Yes. Yes. I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, okay. I was saying that the national conference and the outcome is been gathering dust. Can he do something about it and say, we the people have got to be able to say this constitution is ours? And then on Nnamdi Kanu, what's your opinion?
Yeah. I'll take the second first. On Nnamdi Kanu, there's no reason to detain him. It's not necessary. It's just heating up the polity. I would say, whatever it is, draw a line in the sand and say, Nnamdi Kanu, so long as you're doing what you're doing in the context of the Constitution, you're expressing a desire for Biafra. You're not fighting, you're not causing trouble, but go ahead. It's for, I'm an Igbo man, I don't support it. So what makes people think that Nnamdi Kanu's cry for Biafra would necessarily resonate? But it's because the government used the wrong methods by putting him in prison that it has become an issue. I would do the first thing to say to Nnamdi Kanu, you are pardoned. All charges are dropped. And that will lower the temperature I speak about. We need to do that. Then on the national conference, please, Mr. President, don't call another national conference. We've had enough of it. All the issues to resolve Nigeria's problems are known to us. Some call it political restructuring, some say it's division of powers. So just look at the Constitution. We don't believe in it because it's not our Constitution. It was given to us by the military. So that's why I said, bring these sub-ethnic nationalities together. I was a member of the 2014 National Conference. I had no idea where I was called because I don't have any cultural relationship anywhere. But these sub-nationalities are the ones that can help the president validate a new constitution.
All right.
Whether the constitution is going to be, abrogated and a new one introduced, I don't know. But those are the things that he would need to do to create a new national order.
Being a leader, a key leader in Nigeria is not a small task, especially at the presidential level. And that was why most Nigerians are craving for a young leader, women, people who are sound enough and, they have that mental capacity to tackle the challenges of Nigeria. Because being the world's most populated black country, there are a lot of challenges facing the Nigerian people, and especially their younger generation. And that was why we came out en masse during the election to make sure we chose the leader of our choice. But we all know how all that happened. We are currently waiting for the election tribunal to decide and tell Nigerians who actually won this election. So guys, let me know what you think about Tinubu's ability to hit the ground running as they promised, and his ability to tackle the challenges that Nigerians are facing today. Don't forget, the #1 blunder has already been committed by him declaring during inauguration that he has removed subsidy that has plunged Nigerians into more hardship. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.